account. The question here is, when will government realise that it is the same people who queue up for RDP houses in the Eastern Cape, the Western Cape and Gauteng? That's one question. In fact, I actually saw another question of somebody asking, you know, there are people out there that qualify or not qualify. They have RDP houses, one in Gauteng, one in the Eastern Cape. And this can't be fair because, you know, some people are just struggling to get one house, whereas some people already have two. Let's answer a question like that. Can we not get a system in place? Another one from Champ saying, when will we introduce the Home Affairs linked fingerprint system to curb corruption in house allocations? So there you have it. There's another question for you, Minister. And finally, Faislin Fransman saying, why aren't we doing what many countries around the world are doing, building flats or apartments instead of lots of houses? That's a very good question. Faislin, a very nice question. I remember visiting Hong Kong, and with all the space issues, you know, they build everything up, so it's just high skyscrapers of flats. And perhaps that could help. Minister, what do you think? Let's go back to Fourways. That's where the Minister is, with Peter Ndoro on our TNA SABC Business Briefing.
Leanne, thank you very much indeed for putting those questions through, and certainly it is an emotive issue. And I think, you know, when I look back at a lot of the TNAs that we've done with the SABC, this is certainly one that has got a number of responses right across the country. So let's go straight into those questions. Minister, some people apparently are queuing up in different areas to the point that some people have even two RDP houses in different areas.
We spoke about corruption, and it takes many forms. Government officials stealing money outright, at national, at provincial, at local. Cheating on the queue by beneficiaries. This one, I've named it double dipping. Double dipping is about people who are supposed, criminal-minded people, whether they are normal families and so on, who think that they can cheat the system by benefiting twice. And somebody who said they come from Eastern Cape or Western Cape, and they go to another province and they squat at Diepsloot or all these informal settlements, pretending that the policies and expenditures of this government have never touched their lives since 1994, and that's wrong. They ask for services out here, and they pretend they're poor. They join demonstrations, and they become, some of them, very vocal. You see a person, but this person has got a house. So that's wrong to take advantage of the system, because you are actually impoverishing another person. And what they do with these houses is to sell them to other people who turn them into, you know, business entities, even to sell them, worse so, to foreigners. So it's a reportable offense, and we're saying people come forward when you know such people. I'll give you an example that touched me. When I became minister for the first time of human settlements, I went to Diepsloot. People thought it was a press thing. It's not a media thing. You got to be there. If you're a Minister of Health, go and see hospitals. I went there. We worked for the whole day, and that night at about 2 a.m., we decided to stay on. We paid a woman rent to sleep in her shack. Well, you journalists were following me, and I didn't call you. And they waited outside to find out if I had slept there, and indeed I had, because we had just rested there. I felt such a pity for the lady, and I wanted to fast track her on the housing list. So what do? That would be corruption by the minister now, because I feel passionate. So I decided the Sexwale Family Foundation should do it. Guess what? When we checked, she had a house.
Wow.
She had a house. I had invited her to Parliament in my budget vote to say, Mrs. So-and-so sitting out there, she had a house. So if you can have an example like that, how many people try to cheat the system? Of course, one of the solutions, and I like the question that came about Home Affairs here, is to use the system which was designed under Nkosazana Zuma. Now it's Minister Naledi Pandor pushing that, so that we can use the new card of Home Affairs, which tells us exact finger and footprints as to who you are, where you are, and so on, without interfering into the privacy of people. You'll see what has happened in America yesterday. No privacy interference, but to make sure that we can track you. we can know where you come from, who you are, and so on. But people have got various ways of registering their children and their cousins. And it's a reportable thing. Tell us. You know, this is my last point on this one. The civics, the ordinary people out there. This government cannot just do this thing alone. You know this thing. You know this gentleman. You know that guy. You know this lady. You know they're doing something, or they keep quiet, and then you join demonstrations, knowing very well that the person next to you has been a very large beneficiary.
All right, okay, and then flats and apartments.
Oh, we do that. Oh, this lady, she's not aware. Where's your camera? Let them show these things. That's what we do. Flats, and I started there. Inside the cities, we've got Shra. There's a lady sitting here from social housing, a lady by the name of Ibrahim, Zora Ibrahim. She's chairman of this thing. We build these things right across the country. Right, this is the way to go, the way of the future, where people have got these flats for rent. They attract quite a number of young people as well. I like that, but also in certain cases with an option to buy. Now let me give you a light-hearted one. And some people are saying, hey, these flats, 3 stories, 6 stories, and so on. Some buildings are 15 stories in the cities. Where will I get my goat when I have umsebens? See, how will I get the coffin in and so on? But people have been able to address those issues. Yeah. That's the housing policy of the future. That's where we have the National Housing Finance Corporation assisting. And I say they rent these things, which is the first stage of your entry to the house market with an option also to buy. All
right, okay, let's go to our tables. And if I could ask you at the tables, please be very concise with your questions. And I'm going to ask Minister as well and designated answerers to be quick with their answers as well so we can get through as many of these as possible. Anthony Ngezula, table number 10.
And Anthony Ngezula, CEO of Imizi, Port Elizabeth. Good morning, Mr. Minister. Mine is very short, it's not going to be very long. When it was still the Department of Housing, there was intensification of what is called housing education. There were pamphlets all around explaining the do's and don'ts for beneficiaries, how you qualify for this and that. In Port Elizabeth, we are new in social housing, and thankfully, to the Department of Human Settlement, we've got a beautiful development that is there of flats which people of Port Elizabeth are benefiting from. But the problem that we normally face is that people do not differentiate between the different subsidies, that is institutional as well as individual. They make some demands which are very difficult for us as practitioners to meet, which are policy related, and we cannot help. I would appreciate if the housing education, as it was during the introduction of RDP, can be intensified, and the beneficiaries of social housing are explained to very carefully what their duties as tenants are and what their responsibilities are. Thank you.
Okay.
You said we should be short?
Yes.
There is education that we on the ground, and if he says it's intensified, we'll do that.
Okay, good one. We love that. One question that keeps coming through Twitter at the moment is those people that you said you've got those 3 tiers of people that you assist, 0 to 3,500 rand. There's a lot of people in this category. They said, how can they apply for this assistance? How can they get these loans? What do they do?
Well, DG, can you quickly go through the system? How do they apply? 0 to 3,500.
Minister, the process is quite simple. We have provincial departments with specific projects that relate to FLISP, and they've identified those projects. They go through that process. And also we've got different commercial banks who also have the similar system, and it's linked into both the departments, provincial departments, as well as the commercial banks. You go there, you apply, and then you qualify. It's as simple as that. The information is there. But also, as you know, we live in the world of technology, which you love very much, Minister. You can also go to internet and website for that information.
So is there a proving system that they have to prove that I don't earn above 3,500?
Absolutely. The process can test all of that.
Okay.
The information is there.
Pay slips, those type of
all those
things.
type, yes.
Well, we have 2 MECs here, MEC Mutsepe from Limpopo and MEC Maloi, by the way, the province of Northwest, yesterday at the Govan Beki Awards for Housing, for Excellence, and all. That's the province which became the #1 province in housing in South Africa. He's here. You can applaud him.
Well, let's ask the MEC from Northwest. What is it that you're doing in your province that's getting you to win this award, perhaps that other provinces can learn from you?
No, simple, basic things. The first thing which we did was to establish a structure called an implementation forum. The second thing was to change the attitude of officials that work in that department. They must understand that we are there to serve the people, not to earn a salary at the end of the month. Secondly, to also understand that this thing of I have fixed hours, I must go to work at 8, knock off at 4:30, must not be there. That is why in the Northwest we start at 7. We knock off any time after 4:30. In order to do all these things. Thirdly, is to interact with developers. We have what is called Developers Forum, where on a quarterly basis, the MEC meet with all the developers in order for us to talk about delivery. Are we getting there or not? Thirdly, is to sit on a daily basis, because normally people say it is interference and so on, and I say I'm paid to interfere. Because I don't interfere with who you appoint and so on. But once that person does not perform, you must explain to me, how did you appoint this person and so on. Now, if you call that interference, that's your problem. With me, I'm paid to do that job. Is to meet on a regular basis with people who does this work, to explain to me every Tuesday, every week. Are we getting there? Are we spending this money? Is there value for money and so on? So these are the things that we do on a regular basis. And I'm happy that we have changed the mindset in the department. I now have a winning team, and we are going to win forever. And that is.
Now, I got something to say. Now, Mr. Malloy is an MEC, but he's beginning to speak like a minister. Now, you see, I would have made you Minister of National Human Settlements. It's just that at Mangaung, Jacob Zuma was too strong. He was too strong. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, table 16, Pat Slebenya. Table 16, if you could be brief as well. Table 16.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. My question is, does the department have any programs that are aimed at empowering young people? And if the answer is yes, what are they? And how do young people access those programs? Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe we could ask MEC Motsepe so that we have a practical example from because I have answers and that I've indicated our youth build, but at an operational level, MEC Motsepe, what do we do for the youth?
Thank you very much to our viewers at home.
Don't speak like a lawyer, I know you also a lawyer.
Yeah, the Department of Human Settlements does have a dedicated youth program. In fact, some 2 or 3 years ago, as a province, we hosted the national pilot program on the youth build. And I think as a province, we did extremely well. About 20% of our contractors are actually falling under the category of young people. So we know as government that we do have a responsibility to empower young people, and will continue to do so. Thank you very much.
Okay. MEC, thank you. I'm going to move on because of time. Table 20, Azola Lowan.
Thank you, Minister. It's Azola Lowan from PPC. I would just like to know, what is your department's commitment to the use of local cement products as opposed to imported cement? I think you touched on the issue of unemployment in the country, and obviously supporting local producers, does, benefit our people. Thank you.
Cement is the glue that holds the house together. It's very critical, therefore, we are very watchful of that, working together with the Association of the Cement People. I forget his name for now. And it has been in the news. They've also got in touch with us about the importation of low-quality cement from other countries. So what we do is we are dependent on people who look at the standard of cement which comes into the country, or that which is produced, for example, by companies like PPC, which is, I think, the biggest cement producer in South Africa. Therefore, it all falls under the question of quality control. Not just only cement, but also other materials which are required to make a house stand. We cannot countenance with the situation where you have old houses in South Africa as old as 400, 500 years. In the Cape, you know, the old Cape Dutch houses built without PPC cement, still standing. And yet today, you find houses that are falling, and people have complained about that. Quite often on the ground, it is not the cement, but it is the mathematical proportion of the mix, the ratio of sand is to cement. People are given sufficient money as contractors, and if you are here, listen to this one very carefully. They put more sand than cement. Okay. That house is destined to fall. Therefore, it's one of the things that we watch very, very carefully. Let me also hasten to add that besides that, we also employ new green technologies to augment, to try to make sure that things go the right way. But the question you have asked is very, very important. It's critical because it all sums up the house. If the materials are not right, then you will have a problem that will force us to spend additional money. So our eye is focused on that one. Thank you.
So you are committed to local supplies first?
We are committed to local supplies because, well, they say buy South Africa first, and that's
right. I think that answers
decision.
your question. Okay, table number 25, Maxwell Mutlake. Table number 25.
My first two questions have been answered already.
Oh, brilliant. So you can sit down then.
So, no. So, I'm thinking maybe I can just ask something that I'm still having a question mark about.
Yes.
It's, the minister indicated that they've got the target of 200,000 houses per annum, which to me, I think it's a...
Raise your mic, just put it closer to your mouth, yeah?
To me, I think it's an easy target compared to the number of people that we have in South Africa that have applied for the houses. So how is the minister going to achieve, build enough houses for those who are on the waiting list with this target of 200 houses per annum, which I still believe that is an easy target to me.
All right, okay.
Thank you.
I don't think he said it was a target, but that's what they were managing to do. But how do we accelerate this?
It is a target.
200,000?
Yes.
8 million, it's not enough.
It's not a target that has been set because I want to set such a low target.
Yeah.
My target is 10 million people. But then the question is, and that makes things complex,
right.
How much have you got? We all have our targets. We want to own everything, houses, cars. We have our dreams. So it's a dream, it's a vision. But reality is, you know, the concrete materials, the finances that we have. I depend on budgets. They are read all the time. You'll hear Praveen Gordon saying housing so much. So that's all I can use.
So isn't it about allocation, though? Because, I mean, for me, housing is an emergency. So maybe we buy 2 less jets at SAA and build more houses.
Now, where do you want these planes to land?
No.
Now, the reason I say that is because, you see, sitting at my table is Mr. Atul Gupta. And once you mention jets, he may want to ask a question about where can I land? Where can I land? But well, that's how it is. That's government. We do understand it is a priority. The President Jacob Zuma has mentioned this over and over in his State of the Nation addresses, particularly the first one when he became president. He changed the name from housing to human settlements. It means we now move even beyond name change and concept to reality. It's not an easy thing to build human settlements. You can build houses, it may be easier, but it all depends on the budget. But government is about allocating funds for all sorts of things. Now, if they take all the money, they bring it to housing, then the airways that don't have transport. It's all budgeting. That's what mothers are best at doing. Pay here, do that, and type of. Government is about that. Worldwide, Obama has got the same problem, the biggest economy in the world. So I do understand. But however, it's about prioritizing your people. And it's about making sure that they come first. But as they do, you got to run the business of developing the country so that the profits that comes therefrom can address the people. If you focus too much on welfare, you lose the touch of being a developmental state. You become a welfare state. You cannot sustain a welfare state forever, for too long. So you got to balance these things. SAA has got to be a business, and state enterprises. So it's really a balance. It's a difficult thing to do. I don't want to mention the word apartheid, but we're dealing with a very serious backlog of things that happened in the past. And we have to face those things today. I well understand that a developmental state is the one that has got to take certain decisions for development, productivity, and so on, more than a welfare state.
All right, okay. We're going to go to Jason Smith straight after this break. Don't go away.